Hello, good day everyone, and welcome back to our tutorial. Today we are going to continue from another subject, which is the psychology of education, and the course code for this course is 706. What I understand about this lecturer is that he's trying to pick most difficult and most interesting topic to cover because no time. So my advice here is that we are going to follow up with our notes and past questions. So have you ever think about what psychology means in education? And again, have you ever related it to philosophy of education? So we are going to do that now, and we'll see the closeness. So it's very close to each other, but they are different. So sometimes the course used to confuse me, so I have to sit down to check what is their work in education. So I want you also to think about it also to see whether what I'm trying to say here is correct. So psychology of education, it simply means that understanding how people learn. It helps to know how students think, motivate, and why students learn faster. Hope you are following. It concentrates on people. That is, if you are saying it helps to know how students think, motivate, and why students learn faster. And also it helps teachers on how to teach better. So if you look at this meaning, you will know that psychology is for student teacher like us. Again, so let me now relate it with philosophy so that you see what I'm trying to say. So philosophy, as we all said before, it is the thinking about the purpose and meaning of education. This one now is closely outside the people that is inside education. Is thinking outside what is inside the education. Why psychology is thinking inside what is inside the education, like how people learn, how teachers teach faster. But this one now is thinking about the purpose of that program. That is the purpose, the meaning of education. Asking questions like, why do we go school? What should we learn? And what is the best way? If you notice now, philosophy is thinking outside, that is thinking why that thing exists. Why psychology is based on the people that is inside, like teachers, students, and how maybe to do some other things in the I hope you people are following me now, you understand it. So these two are difficult. These two has been disturbing the brain, because when you say philosophy will be asking, should I do things? Then psychology inside person now will now be saying, how can I do it? So these particular two words is a professional, is for professional who are able to think outside the box. So I respect these two courses a lot, because if you cannot reason, I'm not sure to study philosophy will be something easy, except if you find some teachers like some of our masters who breaks things down for us. So we're moving on. So I welcome you to tutorial and examination tips for NTI PGD students by No Big Deal Academy on Psychology of Education. I've already told us that this course, it is course code of 706, and this particular program, it is presented by Salah Rahim, one of your students. a learning student for that matter. So, and our objectives remain the same, to cover all discussed topics and practice questions. So our today's agenda is to look at the meaning of psychology of education, the role of educational psychology, the meaning and characteristics of learning, general characteristics of learning. Then we'll be looking at the basic characteristics of learning, and we will also talk about the key words and their meaning of human development. And lastly, that is where we stop. If we can reach this level, that is the relevance of educational psychology to teachers. So the first thing on our note now is psychology of education. So having known the why we study psychology in education, is that now let's look at the meaning, the word meaning. So psychology was originated from Greek words, and it was break into two also. When you say psyche, it means mind, or you say soul. And again, you say logos, it means studying, or it means study or science. Then when you combine them together, it means the study of mind. So we have some authors who define the psychology of education. But before we look at one of the author or two amongst of the author, let's briefly look at these definitions of psychology. Psychology, or we say psyche logos, that is the study of human behavior and thought processes. It helps to understand these behaviors and those of others. It explains behavior, predicts behavior before it probably occur, and control behavior in any given situation. So as a psychology student, you'll be able to study how one particular behaves, and you'll be able to know whether this thing that this person is doing, it will result to this. So that is what psychology is helping us. So in class, we'll be able to know the kind of student you have, because you'll be thinking ahead of them. So that is what psychology into. Then we have another one which says educational psychology is the applications of the knowledge gained from these areas of psychology to solve educational problems. So we use it to solve educational problems, maybe problems of late coming, problems of exam failure, something like that. Why teachers are not teaching well. We can use psychology to solve this particular problem. Then the definition from Olades 1987 says educational psychology is the application of psychological principles, techniques, and other resources of psychology to the solution of educational problem, confronting the teacher as he attempts to direct the process of learning and growth of the child toward objectives set by the teacher, the school, and the society. So I will still advise us again that whenever we see any definition is being quoted by any author, you are asked to read it very well. So study it very well. So, and this particular definition is very easy to understand. Just by when you apply applications of psychological principles and techniques, then and other resources of psychology, you can resort to the solutions of educational problems. And equally, you can even confronting the teachers as he attempts to direct the process of learning and growth of the child towards the objectives set by the teachers. So this particular definition is straightforward and is easy to learn. So I will beg you to please go back to your textbook, read some other definitions that have authors. So lastly, let me just talk about this definition. This particular one is talking about Ausubel. The Ausubel is educational psychology. In educational psychology is that special, he's saying is that special branch of of psychology concerned with the nature, combinations and outcome and evaluation of learning outcomes. So whatever way we are trying to apply psychology, we should be looking at the outcomes. Let it be positive. So it's the way of changing something that is not good to bad. Okay, so that is why we need it in educational level to correct what is bad in the student habit. So we're moving on to the next one. But before we move on to the meaning and characteristics of learning, let's still talk about the roles of educational psychologists in the school. We have some roles in the educational psychology. The objective of educational psychology is to make teachings and learning more effective. So whenever you are making the teaching, let it be passed and be used and be able to understand by those people you are teaching. It's not about to just carry book and teach. You make sure that whatever you are teaching is impacting. So that is what this role of educational psychology in school is trying to do. So the knowledge of psychology will help the teachers to know the individual differences among students and cater for them. And again, it is a principle behind various teaching methods and when to use each. So psychology is very important if you are about to enter class. So you should be able to study psychology and be able to apply it very well. And then it is a measurement of learning outcome using various assessment methods. So this result of this will help to improve the learning strategy. So why we normally do this is because to assess our students, to know their limitation, and to be able to tackle wherever they need helps. And lastly, we said method of diagnosing learning difficulties. We have said that again. Maybe students, they are finding something difficult. So especially students with special needs and students with special need and adjustment problem will be helped appropriately. You can only know this problem only if you use diagnosing method to detect it. So the rules of educational psychology is to help us understand how people learn and how to teach them better. So I want you to please correct me now before I enter class so that I will be able to improve myself also. It studies how students think, feel, and behave in the classroom. So help me and use your psychological learning ability to correct me. Just saying you need to improve in this particular or in this social place in your comment section, please. So I think we are about to move to another one, which says the meaning and characteristics of learning. So before we go to the characteristics, we have to look at the meaning of learning. The meaning of learning by Ham, 1982, is defined learning as a relatively permanent change in behavior, potentially that occur as a result of reinforcement practice. So Webster Dictionary also say that it is a sum up common usage of the word learn as to gain knowledge or understand or skill by study, instruction, of experience. So when you say gain, it means that when you are adding of new knowledge. So learning meaning you want to add new knowledge. So if you are learning new things in this place, please comment so that I will know that I'm doing something. Thank you. So we have some characteristics. When you say characteristics, it means that some features, or um you say features, or the other one, I've forgotten the word. So just help me to manage this one. When you say feature, that means something that belong or something that you can see in that particular something. So definitely we are saying that general thing that is associated with learning. So that is what we mean by general characteristics of learning. So we have like 5 characteristics. And number 1 here is saying learning exhibits itself as a change in behavior. Learning exhibits itself as a change in behaviors. When you learn, either you learn in bad way, it will affect you. When you learn in good way, it will also affect you. But we are always say that education does not support bad habit. So we want you to learn in a good way so that it will effect some changes in your behaviors. So when, for example, you are the type that used to sleep and snore, and you now learn that sleeping and snore, it causes something, and you try to learn how to sleep without snoring. So definitely you have learned. So something has happened. It changes your behaviors. So number 2 is that the change may be an increased capability in performance. Yes, alter disposition in attitude, interest, or values. Yes, it can increase capability in performance because when they say what we practice, it make us do best. So when you continue practicing, when you continue learning, you just discover that your capability in performance has been changed. Then the next one saying this change must not be monetary, it must be relatively permanent. It should be retained over some period of times. Oh, this one now, it affects my psychological thinking, my philosophy thinking, because philosophy believes that nothing is permanent. And why this one now is saying that the change must not be monetary, it must be relatively permanent. So anything that you can call learning, it should be retained over some period of times. So it must be permanent. So, and we all believe that something that is permanent, it is very difficult to change. So, for example, you marry someone that normally is social, you do go to club before you meet him, and you say, if I marry him, I'm going to change him. Sorry, it is better to move or go to someone that you don't have problem, or you don't need to be changing anybody, so that it will not affect your home. If you try to talk to the person before you marry and it doesn't change, it's better to move on, because change is very difficult to alter. So number 5 is saying inference is made about learning by comparing the subject's initial behavior before it was placed in the learning situation and what behavior exhibited after the treatment. So these are all the general characteristics of learning. So moving on to the basic characteristics of learning. What are those basic? The first basic characteristic is that learning has to change behaviors. Everybody knows that it has to change your behaviors, except if you have not learned. Because if you learn that this particular something I want to leave it, it will change you. And again, the change should be relatively permanent. And the next one saying the change should be as a result of experience. All these things are easy to learn. Then you say learning is an internal process. It's not an external process. It occurs internal. Just for example, person that is reading for exam, it will be inside. The learning will be inside him. Nobody will know. And again, learning is strict from biological maturation and imprinting. Learning is distinct from them. It's not something that comes with someone. Though you can be gifted to be able to capture or to be able to understand things fast. But learning, you must learn before you can be changed. So we'll be moving on to the keywords and their meaning of human development. We have some keywords in the textbook that the lecturers discussed, saying from the keyword is saying the maturation. And they ask you the meaning of maturation. What should come to your mind is that maturation is a borrowed concept from biology. For those people that study science, we will be familiar with this word. It is reversed to the psychological development of a growing person. Maturation is specifically used for quantitative change in the organisms, so which are not induced by learning. It's close to learning because learning takes place within a certain level of maturation. Maturation is something that we don't learn, but it occurs by itself. So that is why we say child doesn't learn how to put breast inside their mouth. So most of the thing that occurs in our life is not everything that we learn. It is at the process of maturation. Then the second one is saying imprinting. When you say imprinting, this refers to a process where children learn certain behavior or attitude by being exposed to them at a critical, sensitive time, usually during early development. This particular imprinting, it normally occurs when a child is still young. Children might imprint on their teachers, family, or environment and pick up habits, language, or values. So that's why we are advised not to practice what you don't want your child to engage in his presence. So, and number 3 is a boredom. Boredom is not permanent. We should all know that boredom is not permanent. And if you want to, and most time, these things normally occur by itself. It's come naturally. So it is after a result of over laboring of selves with some mental or physical activities. After taking enough rest, boredom is removed. So in education, so it occurs when a student feels unstressed, disengaged, unstimulated by the learning material or environment, or when the content feel to be too easy or too difficult. So the student will be feeling boredom. So this normally happens in class, whereby a teacher is teaching something that is not too breakdown to children, or it looks too simple to them. They will just find it as nothing. This thing is not interested. So you should make sure that as a teacher, whatever you are teaching, it should be technical enough, and when you are teaching it, it should be technical enough that each student needs to think about before getting it, but not too hard. Then let's say instinct. Instinct, this is an unlearned response. It is inborn. When you are saying, we have talked about this one too, e.g. sucking breast by a newborn baby. So it's mostly close to that example I gave in the maturation. Maturation is close to learning because learning takes place within a certain level of time. When a child needs to walk, it will walk. That is what maturation needs. When a child needs to talk, it will talk. So it's closer to instinct. Instinct is that all those things that it is unlearned response. Even 1-year-old child, when you give birth to 1-year-old child, before you know, it carries breast and starts feeding itself. So in education, instincts refers to the natural unlearned behavior or reaction that came naturally to a person, especially in response to certain stimuli or needs. And again, the last one is reflex action. These are some actions that the organism does not have control over. Some of these actions are heartbeat, sneezing, coughing, breathing. Those things that we cannot take control of. There's no matter how you learn, or you are a president, that you will not sneeze. So all these things are reflex action. So to count it all, not all experience could be produce learning, and not all change behaviors are as a result of learning. That is what you should know. And you should also know that not all stimuli that produce response are permanent. And lastly, you should also know that there are some behaviors that are permanent, which are not due to experience. So that is my summary towards this particular course. So we are moving on to the relevance of education, and I believe that is the last thing we are going to be talking on today. So we are getting closer to the end. So relevance of education, technology, psychology to the teachers. I want to bring technology to psychology. Sorry, technology is my profession. So I'm just managing to use this technology to mix with this education so that it will balance itself. So under here, we have seen that relevance of educational psychology. That means we'll be looking at the relevance because we are not familiar with the word. Then we'll be looking at the education, if time permits, teachers, then an educational technology from the beginning, from where we start from. Okay, when you say relevance means how something help you or fit your needs. How does education fit your needs? So the relevance of education now means how education help you in your daily lives, job, or future goals. In the comments, how does education fit your needs in your profession? So for example, if you learn how to read and write, you can fill form in the bank, or read science, or something that is relevance. So again, if a course helps you get a job, then that education is relevance to your life. So is education relevance to your life? Education is very, very good to me. Very, very important to me. So talking about the education means learning new things to improve your knowledge and skill. When you say education is the way we learn to read, write, count, behave well, and solve problems, which can happen at home, in school, and now we are doing it online. So teachers are people who helps others learn. Just like us, a student teacher willing to become teacher is in one way. So now, what is educational psychology to teacher? Educational psychology occupies a central role in the preparation of a teacher because it helps the teacher to understand better whom he is teaching. That is psychology. It will help you to understand better who is teaching, the teacher to understand better who is teaching and how he should teach. Educational psychology is very important for teacher. It helps teachers understand who they are teaching, the learners, and how to teach them well. Just knowing the subject is not enough to be a good teacher. If you know the subject and you cannot find your way of impacting it to others, you are not a teacher. So you should be able to impact whatever you learn to others. So that is our main objectives of studying psychology. So what matters most is the teachers' personalities and how they relate to the children. So now, what is the relevance of educational psychology to teacher? Educational psychology is important for the teacher in these ways. So it helps the teachers to understand the learner. It helps the teacher to understand the learner. That is, the teacher learn how children think, grow, and behave, which help the teacher teach better. It also helps the teacher to improve learning and teaching. So it gives the teacher ideas and method that makes teaching easier and help students learn better. So if you find this course more easier now, the way I'm explaining it, please let comment. You are making an impact in making us understand this. Thank you. So it helps the teacher understand himself. It helps the teacher know his own strengths and weakness so he can teach with more confidence. So it also helps education grow by making us understand its importance and through research. It shows how education helps the society and research in educational psychology brings new ways to improve teaching and learning. So in another way, it is relevant to us now. It's another point here, that is understanding the learners. A teacher must understand the child he teaches. So it's psychology that helps us to understand the learners. So and again, what will be among the relevance of teacher is that it improve instructions and learning. According to the lecturer, is that when you visit some even private school, if you see their instructions and learning instruments, you will like it, because psychologists has helped us to improve instructions and learning. That is knowledge and use of a varieties of techniques. When children don't learn, it might be because teaching method is wrong. So educational psychology teaches method that help children learn better by using some techniques. So most schools are very good in changing some techniques in order to impact in their students. And another relevant is that teacher's understanding of himself. Psychology make this make let us psychology makes us to understand ourselves. That is, we should be self-acceptance. Teachers must know and accept themselves. We must be appreciative. We should be we should know. Psychology also helps the teacher understand what they can change in students. So, and lastly, advancements of the courses of education. In this note, is saying that appreciation of importance of educational intervention teaches that human development is not fixed. Teachers can change a child's life by providing good learning environment. So I want you to test yourself. You should do this. You should provide 4 ways educational psychology helps the teachers understand children. Number 2 is that I want 2 ways that it helps improve learning, and 3 ways, and number 3, the 2 benefits to teachers personally. So these are your takeaway today. Let us meet again next class. So before I round up, let's conclude what we have done. In conclusion, we started our psychology from the psychology of education, and we'll try to relate the psychology to philosophy. So we talk about the rules of educational psychology, the meaning and the characteristics of learning, and some other important objectives that we promise to cover. So, and we advise us that we should follow our notes and some past questions even with the textbooks, and get familiar with the way the lecturers teach, and we should try to follow them with the instruction they give so that we can both come out with flying colors. So thank you for making time joining this tutorial. I am student teacher like you, looking for a way to improve myself. My name is Rahim. I'm into tech. Thank you. Hello, good day everyone, and welcome back to our tutorial. Today we are going to continue from another subject, which is a psychology